I'll call this meeting of the City Council to order. I'm sitting in tonight for Mayor Talbert, and I'll apologize right now for my voice. I've got some really bad allergies, so please bear with me. First thing on the agenda for the workshop is COVID-19.
Good evening, Council. It's always good to be before you. I have information on the COVID-19 update this evening. Numbers continue to look good as always for the past couple of weeks. The state of Texas currently has 64,079 active cases. Lampasas County currently has 15, and this is of last Friday evening. I've not received an update, and since the mayor's not here, I guess we're not going to get one while I'm in the middle of this. Let's see, our total amount of cases so far to date is 2168. That's 2,168. We're still at 30 fatalities, and we still have one hospitalized due to COVID-19. In the state of Texas, the number of hospitalized patients is 2,684. This is down continually from week to week. Whenever we come in here, the numbers keep going down. As far as vaccinations, we just began the last clinic that we did this, and it's probably going to be the last clinic that we do as an organized group between the public health official, as her term will be expiring in May, and myself. We started that this past Saturday at Lampasas High School. I think we ended up with around 180 that showed up for that. We'll do the second round of their vaccines on May 22nd. This was a good event. It was planned out well. We just didn't have the number of people sign up to do this. We were trying to do 300 people, but we didn't get the numbers. I think this is due to the fact that we have several different places here in town that are able to get those vaccines delivered at a little bit more convenient time. We've discussed those before. It'd be the Walmart, it'd be Cattle's Pharmacy, it'd be the hospital, and it would also be Family Medicine Clinic out here. So those are all good places to go and get your vaccines at this time. As far as the amount of vaccines that we've given, at least one dose, we've got 4,324. That was the last report that I gave you. Now we're up to 5,673. As far as fully vaccinated, we were at 2667, and now we're at 3854. This brings us up to 22% that are fully vaccinated. We were at 15%. So we're making great strides as far as in a county. Are there any questions that anybody has for me on this?
And it is open to everyone at this point, right? Anyone
Yes.
over the age of 18?
Yes. Depending on the vaccination brand, you can be 16 years of age and get that. But as far as if it's Moderna, I know that you have to be 18 to receive that. Mm-hmm. Last little bit on vaccinations, Johnson & Johnson is back in being given. Right. They did a 2-week study on that and looked at the side effects and their concerns and everything with that. They felt like at this time that it was good to go ahead. They only had the 6 cases that I know of where they had the blood clots, and since then they've turned that around and they're back into administering that again.
Great.
All right, thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Chief. Next item is a discussion regarding a mural on Calvert Municipal Building by Vision Lampasas, and I think, Libby?
Hello, how are you? Vision Lampasas again. So we've got some projects in mind. The one that we're going to talk about today, Okay. The one that we're going to talk about today is on this building. And on the first level, there's a concrete, it's like could have been a drive-through at one time. It's been concreted up. And so we just took a picture of it this afternoon. It does have a handicap sign in front of it. So anyway, we're looking at that. And I think in your packet you have a picture. The one I'll kind of point to first is this is the goddess of justice. And the reason I'm showing you this is probably bronze, probably looking bronze. And the one that we're going to be doing is, if you say yes to it, it's part of her. So she will really be up and big on that particular side of the building. And she will be also in bronze and sepia colors so that she looks more like a sculpture than just a painting. And the wall will look pretty smooth, and some places will be cracked, and our idea maybe is to let just the word justice be faded into the background so that people have an idea about what goes on in this building. and there'll be weights here, and there'll be some gold in there. So I think it would be very important to the building. I think it'll tell people what's happening in the building, and we don't have anything like that in town, so it'd be a little new cut on our art. And we're pretty ready to start on it. We've been chewing at the bit, really. We didn't get to do anything last year much, and we started on some more ideas for this coming year, but this is a smaller one. We're going to call this like a pocket mural because it'll be easy. Well, I say easy. It'll be small to start out with. And have any questions?
Since we're not, well, this is a beautiful Art Deco building. Is there anywhere else that maybe you could do a mural besides on this beautiful architecture?
Well, that particular place on there, honestly, is a concreted up entrance. So it doesn't have any brick or anything on it. If that's what you're asking me, is that kind of what you're asking me? Or
Yeah, because I personally don't feel that that's the best. I just don't feel that we need to put a mural on the building because I think that the architecture of I think it would take away from the architecture of the building. But that's my personal opinion.
any other?
But I do love your murals in town. So it's
thank
nothing against the murals. I really do love
I
the
know.
murals. It's just this particular building.
Any other comments? Is this coming up later, Finley? I didn't see it on tonight's agenda. Might be better to wait till after the election, have a couple of other opinions, perhaps.
I somewhat agree. I love the murals throughout the town, but I don't know that, because I feel like even though that's the municipal side, we are still just and housed in one building, so I don't know if that represents kind of this side of it. Maybe all of it, yeah. That's kind of my take on it. I don't know, because even though we're justice here, it just, I don't know if it encompasses this as well.
Because I kind of think of it as like a courthouse, and we're definitely not a courthouse.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, we appreciate any opinions that you guys have. We've always come to the council really for counseling us on, what you appreciate about the art, but also if it's correctly placed. And so we get it, and we don't have any hard feelings about anything. We're all about beautifying Lampasas. We're all about doing things that are relevant, and we're all about doing them well. So those three things I think are important, and so we appreciate your opinions.
And y'all have done an amazing job. The murals that y'all have around town are really, really good.
We think so too. We agree with you. All those in favor, yes, we do. So.
Thank you, Libby.
Okay, thanks very much.
So we need a discussion regarding the livestock and fowl in the city limits of Lampasas. Chief Bailey.
Mayor Pro Tem Council, thank you for letting us discuss this evening. I've invited Animal Control Officer Joe Schwartzer to come with me today to answer any questions that you may have as well. In 2018, we held a town hall meeting where we discussed livestock. I've included PowerPoint from that on pages 19 through 29 for those of you that weren't at the town hall meeting or were not with City Council at that time. We'd like to discuss this again because we come across problems with nuisance animals from time to time. And so we feel like we need to update our ordinances to deal with those. Currently, we have a few livestock ordinances, but generally we use our section 10.8 general sanitation, where it's offensive or disagreeable to persons residing in the vicinity of animals that are not kept in a condition that's sanitary, and also in section 10-4 nuisance, and primarily it's number 6 in that ordinance, which causes fouling of the air, by odor and thereby creates unreasonable annoyance, disturbance, or discomfort to neighbors or others in close proximity to the premises where the animal is kept or harbored, or by noise complaints from the animal. So what we want to do is write a better ordinance that covers primarily dealing with nuisance animals, with animals that become a menace due to their public health and welfare and the safety of the animal and of those that live around it. You know, we have people that live in Lampasas and the city of Lampasas that have never had a complaint on them that have animals. And we have some that just don't take care of their animals the way that they should, the enclosures, the fencing. And so we need to write something better to cover that. We'd like your input tonight to help us. First off, we know that we need to have some better definitions of livestock and include some additional animals with that. And a clear definition of fowl to include turkeys, geese, guineas. Definition on indoor and outdoor animals. Animal control officer deals with a lot of animals that live inside residences. We have a lot of pigs, a lot of potbelly pigs that live inside a residence and outside. They'll just open the doors and let them come and go. We also need to determine pets versus livestock. What kind of animals can be prohibited or limited? We deal with a lot of complaints in regards to swine and in regards to pigs. One of our latest complaints is in a residential area. The property is an acre, including the home, possibly. And we have a new home that's just built, another that's lived there for a while. And they've gone from a couple of pigs to...
Last time we counted a few weeks ago, there was 14, but that's just what we could see through the fence. And these are huge hogs. I mean, some of them are this tall. Wow. And on the property, they have ducks and geese and chickens, so it's not just isolated to the hogs.
How big a property is that?
1 acre. About 1 acre.
Yeah, kind of like a backyard, maybe a little bit more area.
And so what happens is if, you know, there are times that they can keep it clean, and then there are times that just by that amount of animals that they have a smell or fall into a nuisance. So what happens is they're cited, they pay for that citation, and then we start back at square one again.
I thought we had an ordinance where you couldn't have any more than 4 animals on the property.
That deals with domestic animals such as cats and dogs. We don't have a limit for other animals, and that would be another thing that we would ask. In the research that we provided, you'll see that a lot of cities have animal density, how many animals you can have per land. You'll also find in some of those that they prohibit certain animals, such as swine and roosters, and they also prohibit them, although they don't say they prohibit them, they do it by the footage. You'll see 500 feet. Well, that's about a block and a half, you know, so you're just basically eliminating them from having an animal next door to someone. Yes, sir?
Chief, does a normal nuisance ordinance, would that not cover it?
It covers it in some instances for us, but like I say, they can either go to court, be found not guilty, or they can make a plea, pay a fine, and then we have to start back at square one again.
So we have to, rather than handle it through that, you have to do it through an animal ordinance?
We can do it through the nuisance. We don't have a livestock ordinance per se. We have for certain places where you can tie an animal up. What's it called, Joe?
Well, another issue with the public nuisance is it's a broad term. What's a nuisance for one person isn't a nuisance for another. So by the time it goes to a court, you know, some of these issues have been going on for years before they finally decide to, you know, scale it down.
Would this move that forward?
Well, if there was a livestock ordinance that prohibited animals within a certain feet of a residence, yeah, you couldn't have.
But don't they have an appeal just like a normal nuisance?
I'm sorry.
don't they have an appeal, just like a normal nuisance, which could drag it out for long, extended period of time?
Yes,
I'm
there is
just
an
trying
appeal
to-
process,
I'm
yes.
just trying to justify the need for an animal specifically versus a regular public nuisance.
Right. As far as public nuisance, there's nothing after that. I mean, it's just a citation. If they keep getting a citation, it's not like at a certain point we can remove the animal.
So you
there's
need
nothing
this
else.
to be able to remove.
So,
It is a possibility.
So we need to limit and/or prohibit, basically.
And that's what we'd like to do, is when we write this ordinance, to look at that also. There also needs to be some exemptions, some validations. You have 4-H students, you have college students that have animal projects. You have, we have the M&M Butcher Block that we need to think about that when we write this. Veterinarians, we need to think about those. We also need to think about sick animals that, for a short period of time may need to be in someone's backyard so that they can care for them before they take them to the vet. So we want to look at all of it. We want to look at registration process or application permit process. Currently, if an animal is loose in the city of Lampasas, if it's livestock, a lot of times Joe already knows who it belongs to just from the virtue of who has livestock in the city, but there are times that he does not. And so we'd like to at least have some way to contact that owner and say, your livestock is out, come get it.
Now, I'm just wondering, you wouldn't want to exempt somebody, even if it was a 4-H project, if it was a nuisance to the neighborhood from a smell or odor?
Absolutely not. That would be another thing, where you could get your permit revocated if there was a permit, or you could get your waiver revocated. But we also want to define what a nuisance is. Currently, it says, one of the things that it says in there is, let me find that real quick. We want to clarify that definition because it puts in there just by the virtue of it being a menace, or there's another area in there where it's offensive or disagreeable to persons residing in the vicinity thereof. Well, if I don't like a certain type of animal, it could just be because I don't like that animal, not necessarily because there's a nuisance with that. So we want to go in and clarify that ordinance and say exactly this is what a nuisance is, and it's not based upon just because you don't want something next door to you.
Chief, I was wondering about the process that you're talking about, that you have to continually go through the process. Is there a way to keep making the fine more severe? So the first offense is such and such, and then the next time it gets worse? If you're just going over the same process, it seems to me like you could penalize them a little bit.
There is a better process, and that's what we want to work at, is a better process for all of this. The fine would have a maximum fine with that because it would be a Class C misdemeanor violation of city ordinance. But there is a much better process that we could follow with that. And there are some processes that we can put in place and that we can sit down and talk to municipal court about putting these processes in place so that 1, 2, 3 convictions, then this next step would happen. We could do that.
And so these violations are the complaints, are they against people who are actually in ag country?
That's what I was
We have
ag, like
Sunrise
ag
Hills.
projects and stuff.
Yeah. No, but I mean, out in Sunrise Hills,
There are
bunch
ag
of cows.
exemptions and there's annexation exemptions that are issued by the state, that are issued by the state or that fall within zoning that would provide them with a validation or exemption. But you could still be fined for being a nuisance. You can have your animals, but there are still nuisance if the way that this is written and the way that we would write it, where you could still have those issues and be cited for them. But again, with the ag exemptions and annexation, those would be some of the exemptions to this ordinance.
If it is an ag project, do you get like a list from, FFA, 4-H, county extension agent to let you
Yeah.
know who?
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. They would have to have maybe an approval letter.
Right.
That they can prove it.
Okay, we don't
Yeah, they
now.
don't now.
We do not.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be a great,
That would be something that,
where you
we would look
you're
at.
kind of registered. I think it was in, I forget who it was, where you have to, Georgetown, I think, where you have to like register through something.
Georgetown and Stephenville have a process
Okay.
where you, depending on who, if it's a school director or a county extension agent, they would come and verify that this is your animal, this is the program, this is how long it is, and that you're going to continue with the program or not continue with the program. And then you also you can work out those problems. If there is a nuisance complaint, you can work it out with them also. Go to them and say, this student is about to lose their exemption. We need your help to resolve this issue.
And I believe the school is starting to build a farm at the high school. I know that won't take care of 4-H or the littler kids, but it might alleviate some of the high school issues.
It may, and the school would in that, the school would have an exemption with that because of being educational. And then also you talk about enclosures with this. We have nothing now that says that an enclosure can't be next to a residence. An animal or the size of the enclosure or anything like that. So, that would be something that we'd like to look at. But primarily those nuisance animals that we have, primarily swine, pigs, those type of nuisance animals, in some way prohibit those from being in the city of Lampasas.
Any other comments?
Any other questions or?
No, I would be in favor of, limiting, specific, because several of these are, they limit, the examples that y'all gave us, they limit, where you can have, like chickens. I mean, you don't need 50 chickens in the city. So
I think it was Pearland, and I'd have to look at it again, but I think it's Pearland that provides units of animals, and that comes from Texas Farming Association, the units that it has in there. So that may be something that we could look at also. Like a cow is one unit where 10 chickens are one unit. I don't remember the ratio that it had in there, but it provides that ratio. And then it also provides that you have to have a certain area of land for those animals,
And
that animal density.
well, when it comes to the animal density, like, my kids showed chickens, and we only had them for 8 weeks, and we had to get 75 chicks
Yes.
for them to show, and so that animal density is different when it's a 4-H project, so we would definitely, look into that type of a, temporary, but it was only very temporary, 8 weeks.
Yes,
And so
ma'am.
by the time they got big enough, they were gone.
Yes, ma'am. In all the cities that we looked at, they provide exemptions for that. For some were just for 4-H projects, some were for college, school, educational projects that could be verified, veterinarians, and also for your butcher slaughtering houses. Well, we thank you very much, and we appreciate your discussion, and you've given us some good direction to go with. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Next up is a discussion and update regarding the summer pool startup and the schedule. Ms. Kim?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kim Watkins, and I run Hannah and Hancock Springs Pools. So I'm happy to say we're probably going to open both pools.
Wow.
So we started our application process February 19th, and it was a very slow start. So about a week ago, I decided to go ahead and start calling the 9 lifeguard applications I had, and I normally have 20 lifeguards. And that kind of, I thought, would stem the kids. You know, they'd be talking about it at school and things like that, and so it worked. I currently, as of this morning, have 17 lifeguard applications. We have, you know, a few little issues because I only have 1 returning guard and 1 returning assistant manager. So we will have 17 new people if I can get them all to pass. So this week we're working at Hancock on prereq skills. They have to pass a prereq in order to go on to a lifeguard class. So they have to swim 300 meters without stopping. They have to do a brick test, and they have to tread water for 2 minutes. If they can't do that, I can't even put them in a class. So because we have a very young group, I allowed 7 days of practice, which I only normally do 4. And today was the 3rd day, and we're looking very good. So I'm happy to report that. We'll have to stop accepting applications as of probably Wednesday at noon because of the training schedule. I have to prereq these kids out on May 1st in order to get them trained and ready to open by May 29th. This year we'll be doing a blended learning class. I didn't train anybody last year, and so blended learning, normally I have them all gathered up in the concession stand at Hannah Springs. We're not going to do that because of COVID. So they'll do all those videos and stuff that we gather in that small room for at home, online, and then we'll do in-water skills in person. So like I said, if everyone survives prereq tests on May 1st, we should potentially be able to have 25 employees. That's down by 7. So originally I was thinking we may have to only open 4 days at Hannah Springs, but I think with this set of employees, if I can get them all to pass, we could maybe do 5 days. Normally we're open Tuesday through Sunday. Sundays over the last couple years have been very slow. So I think if I can get 5 days out of it, I think we would probably be open Tuesday through Saturday there and be closed Sunday and Monday. Like I said, that's due to lack of guards. You know, these kids, they still have their week summer vacation with their parents, and they still have their band camp, cheer camp, and all those camps that we can't take from them. Right. So in those hard sessions, we might have to adjust the schedule a little bit, or maybe capacity, or maybe just turn the slide off for a day, you know, because the slide takes 2 lifeguards. We're on track for Hancock to open May 29th. I'm thinking about trying a soft opening at Hannah if we are up and running on the 28th. Normally what I do is I have new lifeguards on the stand, old lifeguards behind them. So when we train, we don't have real people. We just use each other to rescue. So the new guards don't really know what happens when there's 100 people in the pool. And so I'm thinking about trying a soft opening for them to where we're all there, all at one pool. Maybe we, you know, can control it that way because they need some real life experience before we throw them on the stand by themselves. Commercial swim came out to turn on the pool pump at Hannah. It ran, and that's a good thing. They will be here this weekend and next week cleaning up Hannah Pool. And so hopefully we will be on schedule to open that one too, maybe the 29th. But because of all the new lifeguards, I may have to delay it until June 5th. But we'll definitely be open at Hancock for the long weekend. What else stood out? So some of the things were kind of taken away. 1, due to lack of guards. 2, COVID, just to be safe, another season. We're not going to have swim lessons this year. We are not going to do block parties. Block parties are where 25 people can come to your party during business hours. Those tend to not be 25 people, and it's really hard for me to control. And so in order for our new guard, all our new people, and everything to function correctly, I just think we should just skip that this year. We don't have a whole lot of block parties, but we will do the private parties. One of the things we talked about last year was the kids under 12 thing. I had asked that maybe we could keep that, and I'm hoping that we could keep it at under 12 have to be with an adult. In the past, it's been 9 years old. And I really do think we need to keep the under 12 with an adult. Let's talk about water aerobics. We can do water aerobics, but because Darby only has one maintenance person this year, she will be in 5 hours of overtime a week. So we need to decide if we're gonna do aerobics and let Darby have her 5 hours overtime a week, or we have to cut it. So unfortunately, Darby would love to still do it, but with the maintenance schedule to clean Hancock and mow all the lawns and everything like that, it'll just put her over.
So how's the budget for the overtime?
That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Because I
So that would be,
really think people would enjoy the water.
there's
aerobics.
been a lot of reaching out for water aerobics. She, obviously not last year, but the year before, she had regular 45 people that were regular. I mean, it's a very popular thing. And it's from young to old, all sorts. Well, you attend, Ms. Monroe, so you know.
That's why I'm anxious for it to be there.
So that would be the only real issue with aerobics. Darby said she's willing to do it, but she said no at first, and I said, why? And she said, because I'll be in overtime, so.
So we'll get a report on that at a later
Yeah.
date. Okay.
So I think other than that, I mean, unless y'all have any questions for me, I'm pretty sure we're safe to say both pools were open.
Any questions?
I had one quick, thank you, Kim. I appreciate you doing all that. I had one question about okay, so you're saying Hannah Springs will be closed the Sunday, Monday. Will Hancock be able to be open on that Sunday?
Yes,
Okay.
so that's kind of what we were kind of trying
Okay.
to do, is take away 1 or 2 days of both pools because of the lack of employees.
Okay.
You'd be surprised what 5 more lifeguards would make a difference.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and honestly, I'm really happy with where we are right now because we were struggling big time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't think so. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
We now have any discussion regarding any item on the regular agenda? Anybody want to talk about anything? If not, then we'll just adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor and council, I'd ask that Mandy Walsh and Ricky Roy be included in executive session without objection.
With a motion, we'll take a 5-minute break and come back.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the regular session of this meeting to order. Before we do anything, let me give you a phone number if you're at home and would like to call in, 512-556-0332 to give us any input. With that, we'll ask Chief Bailey to say the prayer for us.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and ask that you watch over our meeting, that you guide us and you direct us as per your will. Father, there are still a lot of people that are ill. Please help them with their health. Father, we ask that you continue to provide for us and that you continue to bless us and give us mercy daily. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
We do have a proclamation this evening. I'm going to ask Elena to read it because I don't think I could get through it.
Okay. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk throughout the participation in education, programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of the state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is the most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, we do recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our Texas Registered Municipal Clerk, Becky Sims, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent.
Thank you, Delana. We're now to the public hearing for any citizen comments, if we have anyone who wishes. Anyone who wishes to discuss anything that is not on the agenda may do so at this time. The city council may not deliberate on anything presented. No one? We now offer citizen comments for anything that is on the agenda. Do we have anything there? Okay, for the minutes for the last meeting, discussion and possible action concerning approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, April 12th, 2021.
I move to approve. I didn't see any corrections.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. We have a consent agenda. Discussion and possible action regarding the second reading of an ordinance to approve a request for a specific use permit, SUP, for property described as .160 acres, part of Track PT, Block 20, Old Tower Addition, commonly known as 809 East 4th, Lampasas, to allow for a mini warehouse in an area zoned commercial. Also have the discussion and possible action regarding the March 2001 investment report. Does anyone wish to pull either of those items?
Recommend approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And do we have a department report?
Mayor, council, the first sheet, I don't know what sheet y'all have, but that chart, it kind of goes over our revenues for the month. I kind of compare them every year to the previous year. And it's kind of got a graph, and it doesn't really have the exact numbers, but I did write down some numbers for some of our green fees, cart fees, merchandise, and our total. But the green fees in 2020 was $7,533. And for 2021, it was $15,140. So since COVID, we've been busy. People have been really been coming out. The cart fees, in 2020, we ran $4,700, and then in 2021, we ran $8,700. The merchandise went from $2,200 to $9,800, and I couldn't figure out the big jump on that, but it was the school bought quite a bit of merchandise that year, or this past year from me. So anyway, the grand total for 2020 was $17,412, and for 2021, it was $38,774. So it was busy, but I do want to say also, it hit me later that we were closed from March 24th through April 24th. So there were 6 days in March of last year that aren't on here, but I went back and looked at the figures, and they were still very busy. So, which is good. As far as the golf course, you know, our duties are pretty much the same thing this time of year, weekly. Some of the different things that we do this time of year, March, going in the growing season, we aerate our tee boxes, and then we also aerate and sand our greens. We put out a lot of product, a lot of herbicide to keep stuff from coming up in the springtime. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but on my monthly report every month, it says 800 pounds of gypsum. We put that on our greens every month, been doing it for years. I've had some people ask me about it, what that does. Our water, we have a lot of water, but it's not very good water. It has a lot of salt in it. So we have to put this stuff down to kind of break up the salt along with the potash. As far as like the winter storm, we didn't really have that much damage. We did have a little damage in our pump house, which I'm still waiting on a part for. It's a maintenance pump that basically keeps pressure on the system. Evidently, every golf course in the country's maintenance pump froze up, so it's hard to get one, but I've got one coming, hoping in a few weeks. We can still irrigate and stuff, so this is just a smaller motor that keeps pressure on the system. We did find that we had a lot of our sprinkler heads break. They've been in the ground since we built the golf course. They have some aluminum parts in them, and it still had some water in it, so when they thawed out, they busted, and we've replaced several of them. And that they don't make parts for those anymore, so we had to buy new ones, which was pretty costly. The other thing I wanted to hit on was our memberships. You know, our memberships run every 6 months from January through June and from July through December. For this time period, from January through June, we have 158 single memberships, 36 couple memberships, and 6 family memberships. We have 164 trail fees, member trail fees. That means if you're a member, you have to pay, and you have a golf cart, you pay a fee to drive them on the course. Which is actually, normally our memberships stay all pretty much the same. We have a total of about 185 to 90. This is up about 10 memberships from what it normally is. So we have had some new members come in, and we're still having them come in. So the golf course has been busy. This year's a little different. The grass isn't growing like it should right now. It's been cool of a morning. We aerated and sanded our greens around the 1st of the month. I think it was the 6th of April, actually, is when we did it. And they're kind of not really growing that good right now. So, but they will. It's just, I got to be patient, and we get some 70-degree weather, and everything will be good. We do have our Memorial Day tournament coming up at the end of the month, and we are going to have a full house, 192 golfers in it. So, anyway, that's about it. Y'all have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Berry.
Thank you.
We have 5.0, routine matters. 5.1, city manager's operational report.
Just a few brief comments, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Memos included in your packet. CIP met on April 22nd. We did take the opportunity to take a look at the historic colored school as well as tour the New Hope Baptist Church. I think the consensus of the group was, you know, let's continue to keep an eye on it and see if there's a way that it could be incorporated into our historic assets. We also took a listen to a presentation on wayfinding signage as a means to promote the city's brand and highlight tourist and business attractions. Heard some reports from streets and parks. Next meeting will be May 6th, and we'll continue the discussion primarily on public works projects. Hillside Acres, just as an update to you, the city attorney in consultation with First State Bank Burnett did come to an agreement on a performance guarantee. We have submitted the final draft of the completely packaged development agreement to the owner for his review and execution. And pending that, we have not signed nor filed the final plat at this point. Just a couple of updates on probably two major retail developments currently underway in Lampasas, Sefco at 4th and 190. They are doing a lot of site work to prepare not only detention pond to the east, but also locations for their tanks to the west of that site. Although they did remove a number of trees at that site, their landscaping plan does show that they will plant an additional 31 trees at that site, as well as sod. Whataburger's poured their slab and completed, I believe, all of the underground utility work and rerouting. Overhead phone relocation remains by AT&T. It kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because that's kind of the only thing still up in the air across that site. AT&T joint use pole agreements. As council may recall, we actually passed a resolution several months back that said that we would no longer allow AT&T to attach to our poles by providing them 1 year notice. That's because they would not come back to us with an updated pole attachment agreement. The pole attachment agreement we're currently operating under was drafted in 1949. That's when probably the city and Southwestern Bell or Bell Company at that time probably had an equal number of poles, so it was just a wash. We would attach to their poles, they would attach to our poles. Obviously, since our electric distribution system is expanded, it's created a greater burden on the city's poles, as well as we're only collecting 1949 rates on that. We were hopeful because we did get a call from Debbie Keel, AT&T regional director, and she said that she apologized for the delay. She would get on it, and we would likely get our agreement back first part of the week. That was last week. Of course, we haven't had anything back from them, nor have we received any other communication from them. So we'll continue to keep in touch with Ms. Keel and folks at AT&T, and of course our consultants. Code Red, just to give you an update that we are continuing to reinforce Code Red subscription and Notify Me subscription. So this is a means where you can get public notifications, meeting notices, emergency notifications, boil water notifications. So again, one of the things we heard with the after action report and our stakeholder groups was that, you know, we shouldn't count on everybody being on Facebook to get their information. Some people need a phone call, they need an email, and so we've been, and in particular the police department has been promoting Code Red with counter cards and handing out sign-up information at events, et cetera. 580 Sports Park, we have received the conceptual plan for the hike and bike trails at 580. Prior to the next city council meeting, I think what we'd like to do as staff is meet with some of those stakeholders, try to determine what can be done from a volunteer standpoint, what can be done from a, maybe with some assistance from city help, and then what we just can't get to or what we may have to, if council so wishes, to go outside of our current in-house resources. We'll bring that back to you, hopefully in a workshop item on May 10th. West 3rd Street, we had that downpour. I don't know if you would call that downpour. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. That washed one of their mini excavators down the drainage area ways. They had poured fresh concrete that morning. All that fresh concrete got washed out. So, but I am pleased to report that I believe they've poured both pans, both the head walls. I think there's still some street level curbing and flat work to do. But I'm hopeful that that'll be done with that project within the next 2 weeks, including paving. CareFlight came in to visit with myself and the fire chief this past week. CareFlight is an air ambulance service. It's coming into Central Texas. They actually have an asset based in Burnett, and they are seeking opportunities to sell memberships kind of as an insurance program As some of you may have been approached by, for example, Air Evac, an annual membership that would supplement whatever fees you were charged in the event you did need their services. Their model is more of, or one of their ideas for a model is a payment through your utility billing that you would have the option to opt out on. We, Chief and I visited with them, and certainly we don't want to bring them in to talk to council about that unless council wants to have a little more information on it. But it would, probably take that price down to about $13 if you were air evac'd out on the care flight. We'd certainly be interested in your comments about having them come and formally present to council on their program. But it would lend itself to some perhaps concerns regarding other services wanting to do the same thing in terms of a deduction on your, or a charge to your utility bill. But I'd be anxious to get your input on that. Ajinomoto Foods North America, we have kind of narrowed down 2 dates and times for them to meet with us on the wastewater pre-treatment study. However, we've yet to confirm a meeting. We have a new date now that's kind of targeting May 6th. I just wanted to inform you that I think we got that report back and completed just in December, first part of the year, and we've just had a heck of a time getting them to sit down and go over it. We do know that they are using consulting engineers from Wisconsin, so I think some of the coordination is probably with their travel time, but we certainly wanted to let you know that it's not for lack of trying, and we'll certainly let you know when the meeting is set up with them. And then just one other thing, tomorrow's the last day for early voting. You can vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Finley. 6.0 is unfinished business, and I don't think we have any. So 7.0, new business. 7.1. Sorry. Discussion and consideration for approval of payment for the expenditure of $75,541.58 Motorola Solutions Incorporated for the Lampasas Public Safety Communication Systems Upgrade Project.
Mayor, Council, the Lampasas Public Safety Communication System upgrade is almost finished. We'd like to finalize the payment for that in the amount of $75,541.58, so I request a motion that we be allowed to make that payment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous?
Thank you.
7.2, discussion and possible action due to a request for the closure of East 2nd Street from Main Street to Pecan Street on July the 11th, 2021, from 12 noon until 5 p.m.
Mayor, Council, Andy Fish would like to, in conjunction with Spring Hoe Tour of Homes, have a celebration of East 2nd Street on July the 11th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. We would need to close some streets from noon till 5 p.m. to ensure that our pedestrians and our traffic is diverted safely. So I'm requesting a motion to be allowed to do that.
So moved.
Second.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And are there any questions, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion and possible action regarding the award of a contract for the retaining walls at W.M. Brook Park, Sulphur Creek, in an amount not to exceed $33,375.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I would like to say I'm here tonight because Chris can't be here. He's expecting a new grandbaby this evening, hopefully. They induced his daughter this evening. So we present this tonight. This is a budgeted item for the fiscal year 2021. We did receive 2 quotes for the repair of the retaining wall at Sulphur Creek. We received one from M.W. Hale Construction for $43,385, and the other one for Canales Dibble Contractors for $33,175. Chris wanted to mention that y'all award this tonight, that we're not going to be able to start it until late summer, early fall, because we have to drain the creek and allow it to dry before they can work on it. And of course, we want to wait till after Spring Hoe and all the events that are going on in the park, so.
Sure. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question. Is this the same Gabion type construction that we did on the opposite bank, or with the rock cap over it?
I'd need to verify that, but I believe it
Let
is.
the water come in and out like?
I'd have to verify that, but I believe it is. We can certainly let council know.
Okay.
What is their timeline for completion? Do we have any? No?
I don't have one at this time, no, but I can get an estimated time follow-up.
And they know that they can't start immediately, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, if he could get a timeline on it,
Get a
I'd
time frame.
appreciate it.
Will do.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Vicki. 7.4, discuss and consider a letter provided by Eckerman Engineering regarding work on city property, specifically the berm on Spring Hoe Avenue, in preparation for the construction of the new Spring Hoe building.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. This item was for your consideration this evening because we want to acknowledge the fact that when they do construct the Spring Hoe building over on Spring Hoe Boulevard, that it will be somewhat encroaching a little bit on our property behind it, just near it. So we just wanted to bring it to your attention to let you know that there will be contractors working on city property during this project.
Did I understand the building itself is going to encroach on our property?
No, ma'am, not
Just
the
the work,
building,
okay.
just the construction. It's on the berm side of it, towards the back part of it, and just some of the actual grading that they'll be doing will actually be on the berm side of it, which will be more on city property, but it will not affect us by any means. They're not building on it.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any questions or comments?
I have a couple of questions. One, you said, do we need an easement for that for any legal reason? A construction easement?
We could provide one to them. I think based on the length of time, I don't know that it'd be necessary, but we could.
Okay, I was
ask
just
for
trying to make sure we're protected on that
When
thing.
we did go through our initial plan review, we did discuss doing a construction easement, so that was an option that was brought up. We haven't finalized yet that, but it's definitely something we'll look at.
Okay. The other question is, there'll be no change in elevation. Is that correct?
Not on the berm, no, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Eckerman,
That's-
did you have
That's all I'm interested in, is the
Yes, sir.
berm. And I'm not worried about revegetation from the standpoint other than it's just weeds there mostly anyhow.
Did you have something?
Mr. Eckerman, did you have something to add? Okay.
So I get the berm height overall will not change. We're going to set the building just above the berm height and then slope back towards the creek. So we'd grade about 6 or 8 inches down over into on the city property side. So we'll encroach there.
But it'll just be a temporary thing.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? So 7.5 is presentation and acceptance of the Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce first and second quarter report. Melissa?
Mayor, yes, she is in attendance. Yes, I did go on behalf of staff and did review the actual Q1 and Q2 reports. I did find that they do match the receipts and the the GL line items of where they're coming out from. I do recommend that we do reimburse the $19,514.22 back to the Chamber of, and she is here if you have any questions directly for her regarding her reports.
Okay, do we have a motion for this?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions for Melissa? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. 7.6, discussion and possible action regarding the Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce hot funds request for annual 10K event in the amount of $1,500.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, this item is eligible for hot funding. The funds requested will be used for the advertising, promotion, participant goodie bags, timing company, and a race coordinator. This event brings about 300 to 500 people to participate. It is part of the Syntex Racing Series, which does promote more activity during this time period. I did go ahead and give you some historical funding as well of what we've done in the past. So at this time, staff is wanting to consider a motion to approve the $1,500 requested for this event.
So moved.
Motion?
Oh, go ahead.
Any questions, comments? All those in,
Is this the same, Melissa, as last year? Request for the request for hot funds, the same price.
It is about $300 additional request this year, just because we are going to be advertising outside of where we did last year when we had to modify and cut it off at 200. So there will be requests for, there will be a need for advertising further out where we started back in February.
And this isn't paying any of the local advertising, it's only paying for the
Correct.
outside?
Yes, ma'am. It's all digital.
any other questions or comments? We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 7.7, discussion and possible action regarding the Lampasas County Chamber of Commerce hot funds request for the Riata Rodeo in the amount of $5,161.25.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, again, this item is eligible for hot funding. The funds requested will be used towards operational costs for the rodeo that include the rodeo producer cost and the hotel rooms for the rodeo company, advertising, event vendor costs such as the restrooms and security. The expected participant numbers are anywhere from between 300 and 600, and then the expected attendance could be anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000. This event has already over 75 sponsors to help with additional funding. I did provide historical numbers on there as well for you to review what we've done in the past. And then we're just asking for a consideration of hot funds in the amount of $5,161.25.
Any comments or questions? Motion?
Recommend approval.
Second.
I did want to ask if you have, how many participants do you have?
We will not know the participant amount until we get closer. We're about 3 months out. And so those traditionally only sign up by, I think the date is July 28th, actually, the day before the event. So, but because it was canceled last year, obviously we're going to have a lot more attendance if Bluebonnet was any example. We actually will be adding vendors to this event this year, as far as food trucks and also arts and crafts and informational vendors. And so it'll provide a lot more opportunity for families
Good.
to visit.
Good luck with that.
I'm pleased that it's less than 2019 on the money, so
I'm sorry, sir?
the amount of money has gone down
It
from
has gone down.
2019.
Yeah, because we have more
So
sponsors.
you've got more sponsors.
Yes, sir.
That means it's growing.
Yes, it is. And we've actually remodified a lot of our sponsorship packages, and we're going with presenting sponsors for a lot of our events, which is helping cover a lot of cost.
Any other comments, questions? We do have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, appreciate it.
7.8, discussion and possible action regarding, Sorry. Discussion and possible action regarding the purchase and installation of 500 Neptune AMR water meters from Core and Main in an amount not to exceed $132,000. That's a lot of money, Van.
Good evening, council. This is our next installment of our annual meter changeout program. We were planning to do 1,000 this year, but after speaking with Mr. Finley, we dropped it down to 500.
How many do we have left, Van?
Do we need a motion?
After we,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, let's get a motion first so we can discuss it.
Recommend approval.
Second.
Okay. Chuck, go ahead.
after we finish this 500, we will have approximately 500 left.
Nice. Any other questions, comments?
And this is in the budget, right?
Yes, ma'am. It was approved in the budget.
That's what I was
And to
thinking.
clarify, that is residential 3/4-inch meters. We still have the larger meters to do.
Right, the commercial. Got it.
Anything else? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Let's go home.